Hello and welcome back. We have just gone through several videos that talked about a sensor graph known as the sum graph. All the videos that you have watched up to this point was a single black line, a single black graph that tells a tremendous story, but it's the story of the entire probe, the whole probe through the entire profile. You see, the probe is actually broken down into individual sensors inside of that vertical profile so that we can tell the story of the plant as it grows through the root zone. So let's dive in and let's start looking at the plant story. Before we do though, it might be a good idea if you want to go back to one of the original videos called Watching the Plants Drink and review that video. Because what we're going to really look at is how the plants intake water and how the intake of that water is telling us a plant story. You see, the story of the plant is what really brings value to the soil moisture probe. You see, the soil moisture probe is what it's called. It's kind of like the table saw. The table saw is a table with a saw in it. A soil moisture probe is a probe that's in the soil profile designed to see the changes in water, but it's not actually about soil moisture. The real value in the system is in the story of the plant. Now I'm going to share with you why I call this a story, and I'm going to share with you how the story is being created throughout the growing season and why it is so important that we never move the probe. You see, when a probe goes in and it's taken out, it goes in and it's taken out, it's always new every year. And when it's new every year, we're missing so much. You see, I used to have a really hard time thinking about using a soil probe because they were always taken in and out, and I'm like, where should I put it in the field? Should I put it in a different location? Am I really getting the most out of it in this one place? Since working with permanent data, long-term continuous data, I'm all about keeping the probe in one place, and I'm going to share with you why. It's an extremely important story. So let's make sure that we understand these individual sensors very well. We'll start on the left-hand side of this graph. The first sensor is at 8 inches below the soil profile in this example. In many situations, the top sensor may be at 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, maybe all the way down to 14 inches. A lot of that's going to depend on tillage type. A lot of it's going to depend on just the simple information that the farmer wants. See, I know some farmers who actually want the soil moisture probe deeper in the profile because they want to manage the deeper root zone. They don't care as much about the topsoil as they do the deep soil. So in those cases, a lot of times we'll put the top of the probe down at 10 inches and the first sensor is going to be about 14 inches. So we're going to tell that story based on what the farmer's really looking to know, and we're going to place that sensor in a position that gives us the right data in the right way to tell the right story. So the first sensor is at 8, the next sensor is at 12, and then the red one is 20 inches, 28 inches, 36 inches, and the bottom line is at 44 inches down in the profile. Now, this 44-inch line is a very important line. It's a line that's going to tell us what our target is. If we can get roots to 44 inches, that's our target. No matter where we are in that root zone, we want to get roots as deep as possible. The deeper the root, the bigger the fruit. You want to remember that. Now, as we move from left to right on this page, this is how it develops throughout the growing season. See, it's just like the story in a book. You read it from left to right here in the United States. We read from left to right on our phones. In everything that we do, we read from left to right. When we start on the left and we end up on the right, typically there's something that we've learned. There's something that we have, I don't know, recognized, identified. But when you read something from left to right, you're typically learning something. Think about that for a second. So we're going to do the same here. As time progresses on, moving to the right, we're going to start seeing a story develop in our data. The story in this one starts right about here. At about the 8-inch level, we start to see root activity take place. And the roots draw down for about 2 days, and we irrigated. And then the roots drew down for 1, 2, 3, 4. On the 5th day, we irrigated. Think about what we're saying now. The roots at 8 inches drew water for 7 days. 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right here is where it started. So as we start looking at that, 7 days it drew water. We irrigated again, and about the time we irrigated right here is when water started to draw out at 12 inches. 12 inches. Now, let's do a little math here. Let's calculate this up a little bit, and we're going to determine when we started to draw water at 20 inches. See how it starts to stair step down right here? So if we go back to this point right here, and we follow back on the blue line, and we're going to count the days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Took us 21 days. Think about that, 21 days from the time it started to draw water at 8 inches to where it was drawing water at 20 inches. 21 days. I know exactly what this plant's doing every day of its life. The plant story is being created right in front of you, my friend. The farmers love this story. They don't get to see this story throughout the growing season. They're used to hearing the story about the above ground part. They're used to hearing the story of how many leaves are on the plant. They can see that. What they can't see is the story in the root zone. And the roots are what's going to determine the size of the leaf, the quality of the plant, the ability of the plant to handle stress. All of these different things are happening inside the root zone first. If there's stress coming into the plant caused by disease, insect pressure, damaging weather patterns, typically we're going to start to see something in the root zone to identify what needs to change. You see, inside of this, there's a massive story taking place, and each of these little graphs tell a part of that story. When you become really good at becoming a master storyteller using data, you will start to become an MVP on the farmer's operation. That's what you do. You become an MVP. So let's think about the story that's being told. As we go down to 20 inches, we irrigated here, we drew out another water and some more water here. This whole story is being developed. Now, this little event right here is a rain event, and you can see that rain event did a great job in infiltrating water down through that profile. Part of that is the fact that it came a little bit slower than you can put on with a center pivot, driving that down, allowing that to just soak in a little bit. Huge, huge opportunity. That's the other thing, though. You'll find that rain and irrigation, it works differently inside the profile. That's part of the story. You want to take that story back to the grower so he understands, hey, when we're irrigating, it works different than rain. When we get rain events, and maybe it goes deeper, maybe it doesn't. Maybe we don't get the full effect of rain. We're going to look at that in some other graphs. The interesting thing is, though, it's part of the story of the plant, the part of the story of the process. So you want to be able to identify what's happening in that story and take it out to your farmers. So this is the whole season. Now there's a lot more that we're going to learn here, but I challenge you to go back and just study this graph. Study these individual sensors and think into your mind a little bit, what's really taken place here? What's really taken place inside of that root zone? What kind of story do I want to learn to tell my farmers? You see, friends, this is a big deal. Learning how to tell the story of the plant at the root zone level, it's like getting deep into the heart of the matter. You're coming in and you're getting so deep into the crop production process that farmers have never had this before, but they're longing for it. They want to know what's happening inside that root zone. That's why they put biologicals out there. That's why they're putting soil health practices into place. Farmers are doing a lot of things right now working to improve the soil structure. The most important thing, though, if I can say anything for this season, the most important part of this story is you're going to help the farmers get it right so that they make money on this deal. You want your farmers to get it right so they start making money on this whole entire system. When economics are hard, this tool becomes more valuable to those growers. Doesn't become more expensive. It becomes more valuable. It's the one tool they have inside the growing season that gives them the ability to maximize crop potential. It's the only tool they have that gives them the management decisions to be right, not guessing, right. And that's a powerful, powerful, powerful part of this process. I can't wait to start showing you about 3 more videos about the value of this data in the off season. Learning how to identify soil structures and everything else with these individual sensors gonna make you an MVP, the most valuable player on that farmer's operation. My friend, you master this, master the storytelling, and you are guaranteed work for the rest of your life. God bless, my friends. I'll see you in the next video.